What's up everyone, and thank you for stopping by. Today's project is this Bolens String trimmer, and the problem is that I picked this off the curb for free and I don't know anything about it. But before we take a good look at it, find out what's wrong with it and try to fix it, we need to give it a good cleaning. That way when we do fix it, we won't get any dirt in places where it's not supposed to be. I'll also take this opportunity to answer some of your questions that I often get, or at least some of the interesting ones. There's a lot of questions to get to, so let's get started. I saw an online ad for 2 free trimmers and this was one of them. The location was about 14 minutes away, but since I saw the ad only a few minutes after it's posted, my chances were really good that I was going to be the one to get them. So the first question is, how do you find these online ads for free stuff? Well, I won't name the website as I'm not paid to advertise for them, but it's a free site and it's been around for over 2 decades and services over 70 countries worldwide. What I do is check the website's free section as often as I can throughout the day. Now, the website has seen a recent decline over the last few years, so it's not as popular as it used to be, but I still get most of my freebies there. There's also another site that I use, however, I really don't want to even mention their name as they're extremely popular and they don't need any extra advertising. The next question is, how do you clean the stuff that you film and why? Now, most of the time I use a pressure washer to clean the things that I get, and the reason is it's extremely easy to clean large surfaces and it doesn't take any time at all. But for smaller items like this trimmer, I usually hand wash them. The reason is I don't want to damage any delicate items, and the other reason why is to make it look better on camera. It also keeps me from washing my hands a dozen times during filming. With the equipment clean, it also keeps me from getting any dirt in the carb or the fuel tank. Now, there have been times where I didn't clean everything, and that's because it really won't have a huge impact on the overall repair. I've started cleaning items only recently on camera, so the things I've filmed several years ago might not be clean. I will say this, just because the equipment is spotless doesn't mean it's going to work at the end of the repair. I've seen plenty of people work on a chainsaw, never clean anything off of it, and get it working again. It looked exactly the same way out the door as it did coming in the door. Now, will the customer appreciate you cleaning it? Absolutely. But is it necessary? Not at all. The next question is, why don't you film when you're pulling up to the curb of free items to prove that they're really free? I really don't know how to answer this question, but I give it my best shot. For the sake of privacy, I do not film when I get free items or items I get from my friends or coworkers. Not everyone wants to be on camera, and that includes their home or property. The fact that they would even post up their addresses and sometimes their phone numbers on the internet is a huge leap of faith, and the last thing I'm going to do is post a video showing their house number and what kind of neighborhood they live in. I'm just happy there are people out there who don't want to throw things away in the landfill and give it to someone who might be able to repair it or just use it for parts. Please don't ask me to prove that it was free because it's something I will not do. The next question is, why would you say this repair was easy or simple when in fact you took most of the mower apart? Now, in this case, a mower would start, but it would not stay running. It turned out that 2 bolts had backed out and was causing an air leak, and using Loctite fixed the problem. Now, to me, this was a simple fix as we didn't even need to open the carb, but to someone else, this was an impossible job. This answer is pretty obvious. It's a matter of perspective. What I think is easy or simple may look difficult or complicated to you. If you think I'm wrong in my description, you're welcome to leave me a comment telling me that I'm wrong. The next question or situation was an engine on a pressure washer that had a nasty kickback when pulling the rope. They asked the service person at the store where they bought it from what the problem might be, and they told them that the pump might be the problem, so they bought a new pump costing several $100s. However, the kickback was still there. They then asked for online advice, and I told them they should have asked for advice from several different people, trying all the inexpensive options first before buying anything. Now, I don't blame the service person at the store, but they do work for a company that makes money selling equipment. I told the viewer to check the valve lash as it seems that the exhaust is out of tolerance. Hopefully, that solves their issue. The next situation is when I get comments to help viewers with their equipment. They'll tell me that it's a mower and then tell me what it's not doing. If this is you, be prepared to answer a few questions. I'll normally ask you what the model and serial number is on the ID tag on that piece of equipment. The reason is I need to be able to see what your equipment looks like, and with this information, I'll be able to better help you. If you can't give me this information, give me as much information as you can about it, then I should be able to at least give you a better answer than if I had no information. If you can't give me any information, at least send me a picture to my channel email, and that way I'll at least be able to give you an answer, but it might be so broad that it might not be able to help you. The more you can give me, the better I can give back. The next question is, I cannot find 100% gasoline in my area, only ethanol gasoline. Is it okay to use on my lawn equipment? Well, the short answer is yes. However, I probably wouldn't leave it in the fuel tank for a very long time. The longer ethanol is in contact with rubber fuel lines, needle seats, and two-cycle fuel lines, it'll start to affect them. I'm not going to claim I know how ethanol affects these parts. All I know is it'll start to change the longer they're in direct contact with it. If I had to use ethanol gasoline in my mower, I would use it until the tank was empty and then let the engine run until it died. Then I wouldn't put gasoline back into the tank until I had to mow. I'd also do the same for my weed eater and blower, except it's a lot easier to dump the mixed fuel back into the gas container. Then I would restart the weed eater or blower and let it run until it died. If you don't want to restart the machine and you have a purge bulb, press the bulb several times and this should clear the fuel from the lines in the carb as well. Now most people will neglect to run the engine until it dies or clear the lines, and the fuel that's remaining in the lines and carb will still hurt these components. Some say that machines need the gas and oil in the carb to keep the diaphragm from drying up. If this is you and you've had success leaving fuel in your machines, then keep doing it, and I'll just keep doing what works for me as well. The next situation has to do with mixed fuel for your two-cycle equipment, and the question goes something like this. My weed eater doesn't run very well and it smokes a lot. Can you help me? My first question will usually be, how fresh is your fuel? Then I'll ask you how you mix your oil and gasoline. What I'm looking for is how exactly you mix the two together. Do you measure your amounts or are you eyeballing it? If you tell me you pour a small bottle of oil into a gasoline container and then put 1 gallon of gasoline in the container at the station, I'm going to ask you how many ounces that small bottle is. The more information I know, the better I can help you. If you do not have any information for me, then I don't think I'll be able to help you. The next question has to do with what kind of two-cycle oil I'm using. Now the answer is I use a very inexpensive oil found at a huge box store. Now I have thought about switching to a full synthetic oil, but I can't get over the feeling that I'm getting ripped off by a name brand oil company. I've been using the same oil for the last several years and I haven't had any oil related failures, so I'm sticking with what works for me. If you feel as though using an oil that's twice the price of an affordable oil, please continue to use it. I would never tell someone that the oil they're using is not good oil. Just make sure you mix it correctly and you shouldn't have any lubrication issues. The next question is, I just installed a new carburetor on my trimmer and it's still not working right. Now this answer is going to be kind of tough. I'm going to ask you how you came to the conclusion that the carb was the problem in the first place. Then I'm going to ask you about doing a compression test to figure out if the engine is just too worn out and a new carb wasn't going to help out. The last thing I'm going to tell you is that the carb might be new, but the engine is still old. You might have to adjust the carburetor to work with a worn engine. Now most people say they're uncomfortable tuning a carb, and that's when I'm going to ask them to take it to a lawn equipment dealer, but don't be surprised if they turn you away. They're going to tell you that it's not worth fixing and that you should buy a new one. Remember, that's how they make money, by selling you equipment. The last question is, what do I do with all the stuff that I fix? Well, the answer is pretty easy. Some of the stuff that I fix isn't mine, so I give them back to their owners who were generous enough to lend them to me to be used on both of my channels. I never ask for any money when I do any of the repairs. Now, the rest of the stuff is either my own personal equipment, so it stays with me to be used around the property, or I sometimes give them away locally by posting them in the free section of an online market. I do sell some of them, but it doesn't happen very often. What I usually prefer is to give them away because I want to see what I fix be used the way it was meant to. I do try and keep the equipment till I can't make any more videos on them. Then I have to make a decision on what to do with them. Once they are completely fixed, they are no use to me on this channel. I have plenty of friends and coworkers that I can give them to, and in the future, when the machines develop issues, they'll bring them back to me to fix, and of course, I'll make a video on it so I can share what happened to it. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions, and I hope to see you in the next video.